Welcome back to round 4. We are at the top cut table once again, and we see Mona Water versus Mona Fire. This is a theme throughout the event. We'll probably see this more in the future, but let's take a look at what these builds are. For their opening play, we see Ryan. He plays a unit backup. Once again, this lets him play all future water summons for 1 cost less. And we've got Kuchaspal on the right. Plays a Gordon backup, letting him filter through his deck. Mona Water wants to keep going through to load up the break zone for a future Lena play. For Milo, he just wants some backup names, and he got a Susano, which is not so great necessarily in this matchup depending on the water build, so he'll pitch that to get a selfie backup. So it's 2 backups to 3 backups. Looks like they're just starting off with backups. Take it slow, build up their board. Neither of them are in a rush to play forwards or monsters just yet. Both are going for value plays down the road. So Sarah typically searches out Princess Sarah. We've seen in the past isn't quite the same as a Leo build, but it still helps to get down backups as quick as possible. Oh, it looks like Ryan went with the Hilda. So again, this is more filtering. Princess Sarah's good because she can search for not just a princess, but kings or queens. And here's the Hilda play. Does not get the damage 3 EX, but that's still good to get down backups quick. Milo pitches a Amaterasu for Saza to get, I assume would be another Amaterasu. It's good for Milo to get as many copies into play as possible. He can always get them back with a Terra down the road, but now that he is showing Ama and he's got 1 backup active, Ryan knows that he can't just play recklessly. Alright, here we see Titus. Unfortunately, Titus is a great target for Amaterasu. Mila puts down Lua with haste, and he's going to tap 3 backups in order to try and remove the Titus, thereby forcing the trigger of Titus. And he's just gonna let that happen, and Lua will be bottom decked. So he used all his backups this turn just for the removal, but he still maintains good hand advantage, and Titus is not a threat going forward. For Ryan, he gets an Oracle backup that gives him a crystal, but more importantly 5 backups. And now he starts laying down some monsters. Blue Worm's a filter monster similar to the Vikings, where you can draw and he can animate it at whenever he wants. Oh, Porum. This is a new one. This not quite a twins deck, but it's still a good generic water legend. Similar to Glaciella is a great water legend, and he's got both on the field. If Milo lets the Porum live for too long, he can get out of hand. And we see the Brynhilder hitting it for 5k, just enough to kill it. And he'll draw a card off of that. So Ryan's got 2 crystals, thanks to Glaciella. But more importantly, he's got 5 backups and 2 bodies to attack or defend. Milo's going to take this turn to start searching out some goblins. Those are great for finishing off monsters or popping bigger monsters in conjunction. And here we see, looks like it's Luneth. Luneth is going to come in and attempt to pop the Glaciella. Had Ryan known what it was the Luneth was going to do, perhaps he may have elected to pop the Luneth before going to combat to prevent the Glaciella from dying, but nonetheless, the Luneth is not a threat. And it looks like he's going to attack with a blue worm, but it will break at the end of turn. So what Ryan does, which is clever, is plays Realm, which would bounce a forward back to his hand, namely the blue worm that he animated, and gains a crystal from that. That Realm was popular back in Opus 15 when it first came out, but hasn't seen play in recent times. But it looks like this is a crystal build version of the Mono Water deck, so it's very useful and applicable, especially with Glaciella being the big payoff card. Looks like Milo's going to just play the rest of the goblins and search for Princess Goblin backup. The choices he has at this point are the backup or the 1 CP goblin that gains haste. Looks like Milo is electing to go with more backups so he can compete. Right now he's behind 4 to 5. Oh, we see Eodolus. So that's one of the new cards from the starter deck. It brings back fire forward a 4 or less, and he goes with the Luneth to go into combat and pop the Realm. Ryan's laying down some more monsters to Hagen Chief. That lets him bounce back any forward of his. Once it gets to 3 counters, he can bounce 2 forwards on the field back to their owner's hands. But it requires 3 water characters to gain 3 counters. So there's one with the blue worm that he replays from the Realm bounce earlier. Both players have full backups, a lot of cards in hand, so it's going to come down to who can make the best value plays. We see another Glaciella. Glaciella gains a counter, so Hagen Chief has 2 counters. Milo corrects them thanks to Blue Worm and Glaciella. So 1 down and 3 crystals. Not sure how many Glaciellas are left, but Ryan's gonna want to be cognizant of making sure that this one does not die. Looks like he's got a Bismarck in hand, just in case something happens. As we saw in the last deck, or the previous game, there's ways for Ryan to work around. Namely, he's going to activate this Hagen Chief, it looks like, to bounce one of his forwards back. And no response by Milo, so the Glaciella is saved for the time being. Luneth still goes into attack, and Ryan will more than likely elect to take the damage. There's one. So we're at a close match. Oh, here comes the 2-headed dragon. That's the new monster from the Opus 18 set. Very useful because it can get around most board wipes and it's still a 9k body. So it's really tough to play around or remove. Out comes Glaciella once again. Looks like he's got a lot of cards in his break zone, so odds are we can see a Lena play in the near future. It looks like he's got 2 in hand. Will this be the turn? Alright, let's count him up. Looks like he has just enough. Or maybe down a card or so. He's deciding whether you should go for it. Yeah, Milo is showing Eodolus. That's good for 7k. And the goblins are good for 3,000 damage each. So, and we know there's an Amaterasu in hand at least. So, the Leviathan Whirl may be short-lived. As we've seen in previous fire-water matchups, it's been pretty effective combination. However, Ryan's got ways to bounce his own forwards, namely with Sahagan Chief and Bismarck, so this could be a much different outcome. Let's take a look. Ryan's deciding on which targets. So anytime a character is bounced from the field to the owner's hand, Leviathan Whirl's auto ability triggers to reduce opponents forward by 9,000. Right now there's currently 1 target, the Lunef, but it seems not to matter because Milo plays Amaterasu as expected. However, Ryan is deciding whether he would like to respond. And Milo is going to attempt to finish off the Bismarck, or the Leviathan World, sorry. Oh, and here it is, Bismarck. This is a neat little trick. If he bounces the Leviathan Whirl, he should be able to save it. Oh, but Milo pays another goblin in order to ensure the pop, which is smart. Therefore, the power reduction auto ability will not trigger. And looks like he'll use the Eodolus to pop the Glaciella. Glaciella responds by popping the Luneth. And Milo will bring out Squall, dealing 4,000 to the board, and when a fire forward attacks, 2-headed dragon deals another 4,000, so that's how that forward dies. The Lena uses up a lot of resources in the break zone, so we won't see another one anytime soon. Ryan's only taking 2 damage, so he elects to pass. And Milo will just swing in for attack. He's got a lot of cards in hand now. Looks like he's going for another Eodolus play. Great combination. Here we see with Terra. Terra, when she enters field, gets back Amaterasu. So putting that Eodolus almost at perfect value. Milo's got 3 attackers on the board, so he's well within striking distance. He just needs 1 more forward with haste. Ryan's only got, looks like, 2 bodies, Echidna and the Blue Worm. He'll go with Sildra, allowing him to search for 2 more, and more importantly filtering through the deck. It only costs 3 thanks to Yuna. Looks like Ryan's gonna choose Tidus and Leviathan Whirl. Perhaps he'll go with a hard cast. Should he survive another turn or two? Not sure if he has enough cards in hand to play it this turn. Looks like Ryan has a bunch of summons in hand. And Elena, but I highly doubt he's got 12 water characters just yet in the break zone. So he may elect to either filter through his deck some more or pass a turn to save card advantage. But he realizes he may need some more bodies, so he plays Tidus. Milo definitely has the board advantage at the moment, with 2 forwards, 2 monsters, 1 forward and 2 monsters. Now he's got a 3rd forward, and he's attempting to force activate the Tidus, which he will negate the activation with Amaterasu. If Ryan has a Bismarck, he could potentially bounce it, but at this point, it still leaves his field wide open for attack. I don't believe Rain has haste just yet, so Milo attacks with Squall, putting Ryan to 4 damage, well within striking distance next turn. So rather than risk running into an Echidna block, he just passes his turn. He may have another Amaterasu in hand, because he's showing the Eodolus. But then again, the Eodolus can also pop a forward for 7,000, which is pretty good considering the amount of 3 drop forwards Ryan has in his deck, namely the Glaciella and the Lenas. Curious, Ryan decides to play Sahagan Chief, perhaps thinking he may be able to save future forwards from getting hit by all the fire damage. Looks like Ryan plays another Lena. Does he have enough cards? Looks like he may be just enough. Oh, and there it is. Leviathan Whirl. So Milo's got a couple options. He can play the Eodolus with the Final Goblin, or he can use Amaterasu with Terra. Either way, it's going to be important to remove the Leviathan Whirl and ensure he does not pop any of Milo's forwards. And here we see Amaterasu dealing 8,000, and Terra, when a summon's been cast, deals another 2,000. So 10,000 altogether. And it looks like there's not much Ryan can do at the moment with only 1 blocking forward. Rain attacks on attack, he deals damage, and 2-headed dragon deals damage, enough to kill. Oh, we have an Ashe, and Ashe will reduce a forward's power by 10,000 thanks to the 5 backups Ryan has. What a fortunate EX burst. I'm not sure if it'll be enough. He's at 5 damage. Milo's got 2 attackers left. Is he going to go for the game? We'll see. Milo knows he has to worry about Echidna and that blue worm. He goes in for an attack with Terra. But on animation, Milo's still able to respond. So looks like Ryan will animate the blue worm. Milo responds on activation. Bernhilder dealing 5 damage. Terra dealing 2 damage to deal 7k altogether, removing the blue worm and drawing a card. Ryan still has to contend with the attack, so that should be damage 6. with just the Echidna left. Ryan, ooh, has to get rid of that Bismarck, so their only way to save it is with Hagen Chief. But as we see, there's another Burnhilder to deal 5,000 and 3,000 from the Goblin, just enough to kill the Echidna. So before Echidna gets the block, the damage goes through, and that is the game right there with Two-Headed Dragon. Once again, we see fire prevailing in the Mono Water Mono Fire matchup. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and hope you enjoy the rest of our matches.